If we did not get the true explanation of the third part of the Fatima secret, which was finally released in the year 2000, it no longer really mattered, because the truth behind the stuttering interpretation of its troublesome vision soon came more easily into view. For as it turned out, the new millennium had everything to do with Fatima. After Fatima's 2017 centenary celebrations passed by, the ongoing claims and counterclaims, the historical half-truths, and the subtle disclosures about Fatima's final secret all started to come together and make sense in the context of emerging world affairs. Not least for those who are already graced with the wisdom that the Fatima prophecy, coming as it did in the early 20th century, was indeed a watershed moment in human history. The effort to link the Fatima apparitions to nothing more than peasant superstition, vivid childhood imaginings, or narrow religious indoctrination was eloquently advanced by many leading commentators who argued that even the notion of a redeeming God in the world was a cruel Dark Age delusion, as evidenced by the extreme religiosity which was then bred as a source of conflict and control. To most people who otherwise wanted nothing more than to live happy, healthy and prosperous lives in peace with their neighbours, those commentators had a fair point. But looking back, the contribution they made towards finally revealing heaven's existential truth cannot be understated. Their arguments hardened the growing worldview that the only human life was the one lived out on earth. They reasoned that there was no heaven or hell awaiting all souls, nor was there a remote supernatural designer to begin with. Mankind, by a wondrous evolutionary chance, they argued, was the only creator, ruler, and saviour of the world. Meantime, the common call was for people to enjoy life as much as possible, to spend what they could and to be and do as they willed, as was their right. The seemingly progressive mantra of worldly life was sounded through a brilliant global social media network, which became humanity's constant companion and its guiding light in all respects. Increasingly sophisticated new media technology dictated and accelerated new lifestyles and all forms of commerce. It was the maker of heroes and the scourge of villains. It was the identifier of good causes and evil threats. It was the keeper of secrets and the determinant of friends and enemies at every level. It became everyone's reference on success and failure in life. It was the tree of knowledge in the new Garden of Eden. As judge and jury of the modern mind, new media became loved and feared in equal measure. For it controlled the world, it shaped the world, it was the key to life, worldly life. And all humanity had to do was to obey its rules, to focus on the business of life and to keep contributing towards the enduring but vague false hope of a something better material world which was positioned beyond the controlling man-made challenges of wealth and poverty, war and oppression, and environmental decay. The ultra-competitive early millennial world, which had been centuries in the making, across all economic and cultural creeds, became a matrix of social and economic busyness. It seemed promising at times, but in truth, life became a joyless existence, driven by greed-fueled consumption, limited worldly hopes, and much fear. Fear, and fast-developing biometric accountability systems kept the new millennial world in check under an increasingly cold and faceless governing structure. It was as if, by little steps but with ever-increasing strides, just as the old Fatima nun Lucy dos Santos had observed, that humanity walked blindly, yet of its own free will, into a dark, hopeless, and most uncharitable place. After the age of real-time data and 5G, earthly life quickly immersed itself in a virtual existence in which anything and everything was made possible. Humanity had tripped into another conscious world in which it lost its mind, its soul, and its way, to a horrible creation which was made manifest in a superior yet artificial intelligence that promised a superhuman future. but it was a hollow and intrinsically evil invention which served only a select few, before it then completely consumed its creator, the human mind, and that marked the end of time as we knew it. Humanity had arrived at the long-foretold apocalyptic time of the Antichrist, in which Satan would finally come to possess all souls, after a great apostasy within theist religions completely gave way to a subtle spiritual coup d'etat by Satan's minions. The gates of hell were then opened onto the earth. Unprecedented and increasingly wondrous scientific and technological developments in an age of managed plenty led humanity to reject God as the hearts of most men, women, and even children grew cold. Humanity turned in on itself and descended into madness and self-destruction. Diabolical moral and social disorientation bred a new generation of human frailties. Drug abuse and suicide, not least among the young, reached epidemic proportions. Environmental disasters only multiplied across the plundered earth, echoing the forgotten words of Pope John Paul II when he said in reference to Fatima's third secret that from one moment to the next, oceans would flood whole areas of the earth and millions of people would perish. The final curtain on the age of modernity came down when man's weapons of mass destruction were finally activated by a default mindset which was completely alien to human life, and the resulting cosmic upheavals destroyed much of what was left. We had witnessed the ascendancy and horror of pure evil. Humanity was at the end of time. It was the end of man's world. At this point, every soul in a spiritual fission event realized and judged its own true existential nature through a terrifying, all-seeing apparition, exactly in line with what had been described in the third secret as an immense light that is God, how people appear in a mirror when they pass in front of it. It is a hard truth that man's tragic fate was all man's doing. It was not the work of some remote or vengeful God, for in those last times, man was literally no longer himself. He was certainly not a temple of God, nor was he the image and likeness of godliness, for in those times, man was possessed from within by his dark side, Satan, and we had hell to pay. How did human civilization, given its intrinsic goodness and promise, let this happen? Now, in this twilight age, as we can see, the world's downfall was hastened by the fact that the great heavenly message given to it at Fatima long before was neither heeded nor heard. Thank you for watching this final video in the Fatima series. I hope it has demonstrated the importance of our age and the grace of every precious life, and our mindfulness about the complete well-being of humanity. So, please share it with your loved ones, and feel free to comment about your own views on the Fatima apparitions and their meaning today.